Well, today we're going to be doing a little bit of Kumihimo. And I know people love to do this. It's so easy to do and it's really relaxing. Firstly, I'm going to show you a really easy pattern to make. And then I'm going to show you how to finish them off. Because there's no point having lots of Kumihimo bracelets around like this that you've made without finishing them off and being able to put end caps and things on them. I'm going to show you a wire method today, which is one of the best methods, I think, of finishing off Kumihimo. You can make all sorts of beautiful patterns using beads as well attached to your cord. And I will show you how to make these in another video coming up soon. So first of all, let's get our Kumihimo stuff out. So you're not going to need too much today. I'm going to be using my round Kumihimo board. You're going to need some Kumihimo thread, some cotton, a normal sewing needle, possibly a large thicker darning needle, and some end caps. So I'm going to show you a checkered pattern today, and what you're going to need is 4 different colours for this, because this is a 16 strand Kumihimo. Now it might sound complicated, but it isn't. And as you can see, I've got a massive selection here of that thinner one, but I also have a massive selection of this one. Now if I'm using more than about 8 strings, I tend to use this thinner one, and you can really see the difference. So for this braid, we're going to need 16 cords. We're going to need 4 of each colour that we choose. Now I'm definitely going to go for a white. I'm definitely going to go for that colour. Yeah, that colour. I think that's yellow. I'm going to have a blue, and I think we use this kind of mink silver greyish colour. So they're the 4 colours we're going to go for. So I want 4 strings of this, and I want each string to be about 60 centimetres, which is 24 inches in length. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go, of that. And now all I'm going to do is cut the rest of them and then show you how to set the board up. And this is honestly an easy one to do. So now we've got all our strings cut, all I need to do is line them all up. You don't have to do this bit in any particular order. So you don't have to worry about one colour being next to another. But I want all my ends together, because that way it makes it much easier to tie a knot. Now some people do put clips on these, or glue them together, or string them together, tie them up. There's lots of different ways you can do it. I prefer this method. I find it's the most secure method, and I've never yet in all the Kumihimos that I've made have I ever had a problem with it. So all I do is, now I've got those all together, I've got my 16 strings, I'm just going to put a knot in this, making sure all the strands come through, and then pulling it tight on the end like that. This is one I did a long time ago, and that's still all nicely knotted because I haven't finished that one off yet. So now we've got all those on there, what I'm going to do is push that through here and now set my board up. Make sure they're non-tangled. I like to have my knot in between my fingers there, and that is how I hold it. So all we now need to do is get our colours that we want. I want to get to number 32, so that's my top point. My first 2 colours are going to go either side of 32, like that. And then those 2 colours, the same colour, are going to go either side of number 4, like that. So my next 2 colours, I've got either side of number 8, which is where my dot is. And I'm going to put those 2, the next 2 to go there to one side, because I'm going to put my yellow ones in, which is going to be the next colour, either side of the dot, and then it allows me to find the midpoint in there much easier, which is 12. And this is the most complicated bit, but actually it isn't. It is fairly simple. So just follow it when I've got it set up on the board. So my next colours I'm going to use are my white after the yellow. So I'll put those there like that, and those there like that. And then I know my 2 yellow ones will go either side of 20. So they're all kind of always going to be in line with each other. Now if they're slightly off, it isn't going to cause great alarm, believe me. It's not going to make a massive difference. So now what I'm going to do is pull those all tight like that. And you use whatever colours you want to use. And pause on that for a moment so that you can see how they're set up. I've got 2 either side of 32, 2 either side of 4, and they're the same colour. I've got 2 either side of 8, 2 either side of 12, and they're the same colour. 2 either side of 16, 2 either side of 20, again the same colour. 2 either side 24, 2 either side 28, and again they're the same colour. So now comes the braiding part, and this couldn't be an easier braid. With this braid, you're going to turn left, okay, like that, after each full braid, and you're just going to constantly turn left after each full braid. So again, before I start braiding, I'm going to make sure I've got 32 at the top, 16 at the bottom, and this couldn't be easier. So what I'm going to do is take the one on the right side of 32, looking at me, okay, and take that down and put it on the right side of here. Now I'm going to take the left side of the one on either side of 16 and put it on the left side of 31. So now the whole of 32 has moved over to 31 and we've got that colour. Again, just turn my board around, one move, taking that one there to the right, this one there to the left, one turn. Taking this one to the right, this one going up to the left, one turn. This one here, either side of 12, to the right of either side of 28, and this, the far left one here, taking that up to the left of 11. Again, going round, doing exactly the same thing. So we're going right, right, left, left. Right, right, left, left. The right at the top, to the right at the bottom, the left at the bottom, to the right at the top, one turn. The right at the top, to the right at the bottom, the left at the bottom, to the left at the top, one turn. Now, if the doorbell rings and you've got to go on, or you've got to go and answer the phone and you need to stop, but you don't want to have to worry about where you are, what I do is I pull that one down, so there's 3 on the bottom. I leave my disc there like that, go off and do whatever I've got to do. Then when I come back, I know I've got 3 there, so I need to use that one. That one's come down from the top, and this one needs to go up to the top. It's really easy. As long as you know where you've left, you can always pick it up. And just follow that all around until you've got your braid to the length that you want it. Remember the one turn as you're going through. And you will find that this braid will grow really, really quickly. So let me stop that now. And as you can see, this braid is already starting to grow really quickly. So I'm going to carry on doing this. Now, if you're still unsure, just go back, put it on a slower speed, turn the voice off, because if not, it will go... Okay, so silence it, and then just follow that pattern, and you will be well away, honestly. And then after about 2 minutes, you'll just be doing it naturally. Now, one of the things I should have mentioned is try and keep an even tension on the cord that's coming through. And if you find that's difficult, then add a little weight to it. You can get proper Kumihimo weights. I don't normally bother. I just keep it in between my thumb and my finger, like that, and just gently pull on it, very gently, just to keep a tension there. What you always want to do is have your knot or your cross threads in the middle of that there, like that. Don't have them too deep and don't have them too high. Now, I'm purposely, at some point during this, going to miss out a weave. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn 2, just to show you that actually it really isn't going to matter and it will come okay. So don't panic too much if you think you've missed one out. I mean, it's best not to, but try it, you know, don't unwind it and start again with this type of pattern, because you really aren't going to notice it. Well, I've finished that now. I've got it as long as I want to have it. And as you can see, that is quite a nice checkered pattern. I wish I'd done the silver grey actually in black. I think that would have stood out a little bit more. But there we go. Maybe the next one. So I've got that to the length that I want. Now all I'm going to do is take these off. This took me 15 minutes in total to get that length, which I think was quite quick, because you do get quicker as you go in. Honestly, you start to speed up a lot. So now what I'm doing is I'm just going to put a knot in the end of that, so that I now know that that isn't going to come unbraided. Now I'm going to get my cotton and a normal sewing needle, and I like to double it up. But if you don't want to double it up, then just do a single thread. And then I put a little knot in the end of that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide where I'm going to put this. So I want about that much of the end showing all the way along. So what I'm going to do is start threading my cotton through here like this. Turn it round. And I sew several pieces together first, and that will stop it coming apart, and I try and do that all in a line. So I'm just sewing through the actual threads, and now I'm back to where my knot is. Now I'm going to tuck my knot inside one of the threads and sew round one more time. Now with the flat braids, I have finished this off on the sewing machine. With the round braids, it's just too much. My sewing machine can't cope with that. It just snaps the needle. So now I've gone round it twice. What I'm going to do is wrap it. So I've got my 2 cords, and I'm wrapping that cotton around there about 8 times, maybe 9. So I've got a nice wrapped piece there. And now what I'm going to do is sew one more round to hold that wrap in place. I did that fairly tight as well. Once we've got this done, I'll show you how to put the wire in and get a great wire end. So that end is all nice and secure now. So I can cut that knot off, work out those ends so they're nicely all about the same length when they're pushed together. And that is not going to go anywhere. Now I need those ends to be a little bit shorter than that for the actual ending or the end cap that I've chosen. So I'm going to cut that right the way back. Now, quite close to the cord, because the end cap I'm going to be using is one of those, and I want to make sure that that covers up the cotton that I've put in there. And before I go any further, what I'm now going to do is glue all those ends together. Now, you can use an all-purpose glue like this, the Yoo-hoo glue. I love the Yoo-hoo glue. I know in America, Yoo-hoo is a drink. So you could put that on there. But actually, I tend to use super glue the most, because I find that this soaks into all those threads and really gives it a great finish. But what you want to make sure that you don't do, when gluing this, you really must be careful that you're not going beyond the cotton. So only go right up to the edge of that cotton with your glue, because you don't want to go beyond that cotton in any way. There we go, that's all done. I can let that dry. I'll finish off the other end in exactly the same way, and then I'll show you how to wire it. Now that's all dry and ready to be wired. What I'm going to do is use this medium gauge wire. You don't need too much of this. I'm going to cut off, I don't know, what's that, 5 inches. And you'll need 2 pieces, 1 for each end. And I'm using silver because I'm going to be using these larger silver caps. So what you need to do first is you need to push this through your braid underneath the cotton. Now, if you have problems getting this through, this is where your larger needle comes through, because what you can do is you can make yourself a little hole first by pushing that larger needle through and then using your wire to go through that hole that you've just made. It is a bit fiddly, but I promise you it will go through. That's why you want to make sure that you don't get any glue below that cotton area, because if not, it'll be impossible to get through. There we go. So once that's through, what you need is about maybe an inch, inch and a half on the other side, and all you're doing is bending that up like that, and then bending the other side up as well. Now, if you haven't got much space in here, then you can just put another little bend there and another little bend there, so you've got one piece sticking out the top. But if you have got enough space, then what you can do is just put a quick twist in it there like that and cut off that end. And then thread your wire through. Now, if you find that your wire is taking up too much space in there, that's not a problem either. All you need to do is take your grips like this and push those two ends together. Tighten that up there like that. So that is really, really tight. And then cut that end off flush. So it actually looks like that in the end. Pop your little cap on by putting your bit of wire through the top. There we go. And then push that whole bit of braid into the end there. And now what we need to do is make a loop, because remember we've got to put a clasp or a chain on this as well. So all you need to do here is bend your wire backwards like that. Bring this round here like that. I'll take my thing out and move that around. And then I'll neatly as possible wrap this wire around here. So now you've got a nice loop and you can cut this off here and tuck your end in under there, and that is nice and tight on there, and that isn't going to go anywhere. What you can also do if you want to, and I'll show you with this next one, so this will be a little bit odd, you can use these little pretty beads here. So that's the basic option like that. And then all you do is you pop your end cap on again. So I've got my end cap on, and now you pop your little bead on there like that, and then make the loop in exactly the same way. So bending backwards, bring your loop round, put your pliers in there, bring that round there like that, and then put in some twists. Cut your end off, tuck your end in so it doesn't scratch anybody, and then you've got a nice bead on the end there, but you decide which end you want to use. So all you need to do now is get yourself some jump rings like this, open them up, and then use that to put your lobster claw or lobster clip on. And then on this end, I'm going to put 3 together like that to make a little chain. And then one larger one on the end of that chain, ready to take the lobster claw. Now you've got that all finished, all wired off. Those ends are never going to go anywhere. And then you can pop it on. And now you've got a really secure, nicely finished Kumihimo bracelet. Now there are lots of different ways that you can finish off a Kumihimo bracelet. This is one of my preferred methods, but I have shown other methods in other videos, and I'll link them above here now, so check them out. Hope you've enjoyed that. Really simple to do, great fun, and they sell exceptionally well. Boom that like button, hit that subscribe button, but most of all, enjoy your crafting. Take care. Bye.